Good morning and welcome back to my channel. After a relaxing drive through the rolling Cotswold countryside, I arrived at one of my favourite places. Before exploring the town, there was one essential stop to make first. Linwood & Co. I picked up an iced decaf maple coffee, and honestly, this is hands down the best coffee I've ever had. Every time I come here, it's the first thing I look forward to. Somehow, they've absolutely perfected it, and it never disappoints. With the coffee acquired, it was time for a wander around North Leach. North Leach isn't one of the famous Cotswold hotspots like Bourton on the Water or Stow on the Wold, which is exactly why I love it. It's often described as one of the Cotswold's best kept secrets, tucked away just off the old Roman fosseway. What many visitors don't realise is that during the Middle Ages, North Leach was incredibly wealthy, thanks to the wool trade. In fact, it was once important enough to rival much larger towns in the region. The local wool was so valuable, it was sometimes referred to as the Golden Fleece of the Cotswolds. One of the most fascinating things about North Leach is that the layout of the town hasn't really changed for hundreds of years. The market square and many of the surrounding streets still follow a medieval plan created by Gloucester Abbey. If you look closely, some properties even retain old cow passages that allowed livestock to be moved from the front of the property to the back. As I walked through the centre, it felt like stepping back in time. The town escaped much of the development that changed other places. So many of the buildings you see today would still be recognisable to somebody who lived here centuries ago. Dominating the skyline is the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, often nicknamed the Cathedral of the Cotswolds. What's remarkable is that this isn't a cathedral at all. It earned the nickname because wealthy wool merchants poured their fortunes into creating a church far grander than you'd expect for a town of this size. A fact that even many locals don't know, it's said that beneath parts of North Leach, there may be a network of old stone vaulted tunnels. Nobody seems completely sure why they were built, and the mysteries become part of the town's folklore. One final quirky story. When roads were widened in the 20th century, part of a historic North Leach building was reportedly purchased by Henry Ford and shipped to America for his collection of historic buildings. Not something you'd expect to discover in a quiet Cotswolds town. After wandering the streets, admiring the honey-coloured stone and soaking up the atmosphere, it's easy to see why North Leach remains one of my favourite places in the Cotswolds. It might not attract the crowds, but that's part of its charm. After exploring North Leach, we headed deeper into the Cotswolds, towards one of the most photographed villages in England. One interesting detail is that Bibury's honey-coloured stone isn't just beautiful, it actually changes appearance throughout the day, depending on the weather and angle of the sunlight. The buildings can shift from pale gold to deep amber, which is one reason photographers love returning here at different times of year. Before doing any sightseeing, we stopped off at 11 for a cup of tea and a chance to relax for a few minutes. Sometimes it's nice to slow down and take in the surroundings before exploring, especially somewhere as picturesque as this. The weather was at its most beautiful as we wandered around Bibury Trout Farm, one of the village's most famous attractions. At first glance, it feels like a peaceful spot tucked away beside the River Colne. But this place has a surprisingly long history. Bibury Trout Farm was founded in 1902 and is widely recognised as one of England's oldest working trout farms. For more than a century, trout have been raised here using the same clear spring-fed waters that flow through the village today. Walking around the pools, one of the first things you notice is just how clear the water is. The trout seem to hover almost motionless before suddenly darting away in a flash. Some of the larger fish are much bigger than you'd expect, and seeing hundreds of them swimming together is quite impressive. What many visitors don't realise is that trout are incredibly sensitive to water quality. The fact that they thrive here is a testament to the purity and constant temperature of the spring-fed water, It's one of the reasons this location was chosen for fish farming in the first place. Another interesting fact is that rainbow trout aren't actually native to Britain. They originally come from North America and were introduced to the UK in the late 19th century. Today, they are one of the most common species raised on trout farms across the country. As we wandered around the site, it was easy to see why the farm has become such a popular spot in Bibury. It's not just about the fish. The setting itself is beautiful, surrounded by Cotswold stone, mature trees, and the gentle sound of running water. It feels like a natural extension of the village. Standing by the pools and watching the trout glide beneath was one of the unexpectedly relaxing moments that you don't always plan for when visiting somewhere. Sometimes it's the simple things that end up being the most memorable part of a day out. After a long day exploring some of the Cotswolds' most beautiful villages, we made our way back to our hotel, the Pig in the Cotswolds. As soon as we returned, it felt like stepping into another world. We'd requested an early dinner and were shown to a table beside one of the beautiful arched windows overlooking the manor gardens. With the evening light spinning across the lawns and flower borders, it was the most perfect place to unwind after a day of exploring. I don't say this lightly, but this place is exceptional in every way. From the atmosphere and service to the food and surroundings, every detail feels carefully thought out without ever feeling pretentious. It's the kind of hotel where you instantly feel at home. With dinner enjoyed and the evening still warm, we decided to spend some time exploring the grounds before settling in for the night. Winding our way along hidden pathways lined with towering cow parsley, it felt as though we'd stumbled across a secret garden tucked away from the rest of the world. Every turn seemed to reveal something new, from secluded corners hidden beneath mature trees to carefully framed views across the gardens. What makes these grounds particularly special is their remarkable history. Long before the pig arrived, this was the home of the celebrated gardener designer, Rosemary Beery, one of Britain's most influential horticulturalists. In the 1950s, she began transforming the gardens around Barnsley House into what would become one of the most admired private gardens in the country. The cow parsley was particularly striking during our visit. Growing high along the pathways and glowing in the soft evening light, it gave parts of the garden an almost wild appearance, yet beneath that natural beauty is a garden that has been carefully planned and nurtured for decades. As we wandered through the estate, it was easy to see why gardeners from around the world made pilgrimages here. Rosemary Beery became famous for combining formal garden design with a softer, romantic style of planting. Her work went on to influence countless gardens across Britain and beyond, including projects for members of the British royal family. Even today, many of her ideas remain woven into the landscape. Hidden pathways encourage exploration. Carefully positioned arches frame the views ahead, and each area feels designed to reveal itself gradually, rather than all at once. It's the sort of place where slowing down is rewarded, and where every path seems to lead somewhere beautiful. As the evening wore on, we continued to explore, taking in the peaceful atmosphere, enjoying those quiet moments that often become the most memorable part of a trip. With fewer people around and the garden settling into the evening, it felt like we had the place almost entirely to ourselves. Eventually, we made our way back inside, satisfied that dinner had been thoroughly walked off. Eventually, we made our way back inside, satisfied that dinner had been thoroughly walked off. A roaring fire was waiting for us, and there was nowhere we'd rather be than tucked up on the sofa, reflecting on a day spent exploring some of the Cotswolds' most beautiful corners. It was the perfect way to end the evening, surrounded by centuries of history, beautiful gardens, and that unmistakable feeling of calm that makes the Cotswolds such a special place to visit.